listening to the Marketing Personalities Podcast, a podcast for growth-minded entrepreneurs that serves up valuable insight and interviews about aligning your marketing strategy with your personality type. Because here's the deal. You shouldn't have to feel fake and salesy in order to grow your business. And you no longer have to. Your marketing strategy can feel good to implement and it can work. You can attract the right clients and customers to your business and grow your profits, all while staying true to who you naturally are. So in the name of honest business growth, bring your unique talents, perspectives, and personality to the table. And join us on this week's podcast episode to discover marketing that feels good for you. Welcome to this super special episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. I'm Brit, and today I'm going to be sharing with you part of the 2020 Business Conference Guide that I just published. If you are listening to this episode the day that it goes live, I just published this thing and it's so rad. So here's the deal. I went through all of the business and marketing conferences I could find, all the ones online. I did about 1 million Google searches, and I found these business and marketing conferences that are happening in 2020, and I categorized them by what personality types will enjoy them the most. So if you're anything like me and you've been looking at your 2020 calendar, trying to figure out what conferences you're going to try to make it to next year and which ones you'll get the most out of and which ones will be a good investment for you, yeah, I totally hear you. I was doing that a few weeks ago, and that's when the idea of this guide popped into my mind. So this guide that I've created for you is going to help you make those decisions because I've basically done all the research for you. I've put that massive list of conferences into the 2020 Business Conference Guide. I categorize them by marketing personality type, and you can go grab your copy of that guide at marketingpersonalities.com/2020 conferences. That's marketingpersonalities.com/2020 conferences. And of course, it's linked at the top of the show notes. So whatever you're listening to this episode on right now, you can go just click on that link, right? So that guide is live. You can go get it right now. In this episode, I'm not going to go through all the conferences I found because that would literally take hours. But what I am going to do is share with you the number one business conference I recommend each of the 16 personality types to attend in 2020 and a little bit about each one that I recommend. And of course, if you want to see the full list of recommended conferences for your personality type, again, that's at marketingpersonalities.com/2020 conferences. Go there, you'll find it. Now, before I get into the top recommendations that I've compiled, let me share some ground rules here. Okay, so number one, neither I nor my company Marketing Personalities represents any of these conferences that I'm going to share with you in any way, shape, or form. I am only sharing information I have found on these conferences' websites, the same information you would find if you went to their website, and my connection to them does not go deeper than that. Number two, I get absolutely nothing for recommending these conferences. No affiliate links, no, nothing. These are just honest recommendations solely based on personality type. Number three, if there's a conference you want to go to that's not on the list of recommended conferences for your specific type, so what? Still go. I'm really not here to tell you what conference not to go to. I'm here to connect you with conferences that you'll probably love, and that's all, okay? Number four, not everyone loves conferences, and I get that. Hashtag introvert that's listening right now thinking, oh no, but do I have to? No, you don't have to go to any conferences next year if you don't want to. You definitely don't need to go to conferences or business events to be successful in business. But if you do want to go to 1 or 2 next year, might I recommend a few that I think will be right up your alley? That's exactly why this conference guide exists. And the last ground rule, number 5, if you're new to the Marketing Personalities podcast, because maybe someone just sent you the link to this episode because it's so freaking shareable, am I right? Hi, welcome. We talk about marketing and personalities around here. Bet you could have guessed that, right? And if you're curious about what your marketing personality type is and how to apply it to your marketing strategy, the best place to go to is marketingpersonalities.com. We'll take good care of you over there, I promise. Okay, so that's it for the ground rules. Let's get into the top recommendations for 2020 business conferences to attend based on personality type. I'm going to start with INFJs because I know there's lots of you out there. So, my number one business conference I recommend for INFJs in 2020 is Content Marketing World. This one is going to happen in October 2020, and it's going to be in Cleveland, Ohio. So, as you can find on their website, Content Marketing World is the one event where you can learn and network with the best and the brightest in the content marketing industry. Now, if you're new around here, you might not know this yet, but if you've been around, you know INFJs are so good at creating amazing content devised to indoctrinate their content consumer. And so when they get to a place where it's time to ask for the sale, that person who's read their content or listened to their content or watched their content, they're actually ready to buy. So INFJs, your best marketing strategy includes long form content, right? And so why not go to a content focused marketing conference? Content Marketing World. So cool. Okay, next up, INFPs. INFPs, I recommend for you to check out this super small retreat called Camp Climb. Camp Climb is hosted by someone I've met before. We're not technically friends, but I follow her on Instagram and I feel like I know her, you know, kind of one of those. Hosted by Emma Hicks. Emma, hi, if you're listening to this, I love your Instagram stories. So Emma hosts this annual retreat slash basically like a summer camp for female entrepreneurs, and it's called Camp Climb. It's going to happen in August 2020. It happens out in Iowa. And how Emma describes this experience is so good. On her website, she says it's an uplifting and resource-driven business community for creative women craving support and the space to dream fearlessly. I think if you're an INFP, yours just kind of perked up a little bit and you thought, ooh, that sounds really interesting. So yeah, go check out Camp Climb. It's so good. And you know, before I get any farther into these recommendations, if you go and get the 2020 Business Conference Guide, I give you all the links to all the conferences I'm mentioning here. So if you don't want to go down the crazy Google rabbit hole of trying to find these on your own, just go get the Business Conference Guide. Everything's linked there. Easy peasy. Okay. Next up, ENFJs. ENFJs, I recommend going to Podcast Movement. Y'all are probably podcasters. You've got a lot to say. If you don't have a podcast yet, you probably want to start one. And so I totally recommend going to Podcast Movement. As they say on their website, it's the world's largest gathering of podcasters. It's happening August 2020 in Dallas, Texas. And next up, ENFPs. ENFPs, you know, this isn't like a massive, huge conference. And you'll find in the conference guide, I don't only recommend huge conferences. I've also included medium-sized conferences, regional conferences, and also smaller things like retreats and workshops. So for ENFPs, I recommend checking out a retreat called Wild. And as you'll see on their website, it's described as a business retreat for female entrepreneurs in creative industries focused on fostering community and connections, business building strategies, and inspiring courageous action. Everything about this brand and this conference to me just said ENFP. And so that's happening June 2020 in North Carolina. All right, next, I'm going to move over and speak to my ISTJs. ISTJs, I recommend checking out MozCon for your top recommended business conference for 2020. It's happening in July 2020 in Seattle, Washington. And it's a 3-day, one-track journey into the deepest realms of search marketing. So, search marketing, search engine optimization, and everything that goes along with that is a marketing strategy that I highly recommend for ISTJs. It's pretty technical, it's something that you can track in a very detailed manner. And ISTJs love to be able to track and look at data. And so that's why I recommend SEO. So I think you could really love this. Next up, ISFJs. I recommend, if you're an ISFJ, checking out Business Boutique. This is a big, huge conference. It happens every year around October in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's a conference, but it's also taken on really like a movement, an incredible movement of women who are stepping into their God-given gifts to make money doing what they love. That's kind of their tagline on their website. And so if you're an ISFJ, I highly recommend Business Boutique. Now, you might be listening to this and thinking, wait, is this list only for women? Because I have given a few gender-specific recommendations here. Don't worry. These are just my top recommendations, and they're definitely not all gender specific to the female gender at all. The bigger list that you'll find within the business conference guide spans all kinds of conferences, and they're not just all for women, of course. And so if you've heard some of these recommendations and you're kind of like, wait, is this just for women? No, it's not. Okay, next up, I'm speaking to my ESTJs. ESTJs, I recommend checking out the EOS conference. This is happening in May 2020 in Indianapolis, Indiana. And whether you're familiar with the EOS framework or not, EOS is the operating system that is outlined in the book Traction. It's a really popular, at least in my circles, really popular book for entrepreneurs right now. And the creators of Traction and the EOS system have an annual conference. And I think that you could really dig it, ESTJs. So check that out. Next up, ESFJs. ESFJs, I recommend checking out RebelCon. RebelCon is happening April 2020 in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm just going to read off to you what the website says about RebelCon so you can get a good idea of what this is about. So Rebel is a community and boutique conference dedicated to inspiring you to create a life you love. We explore topics that will nurture your ability to create the life and career you want no matter what stage you're in. So I found RebelCon and immediately I thought of ESFJs because ESFJs are naturally great at creating, surroundings in an event. They're honestly, oftentimes, they're event planners, or they might not be an event planner for their business, but they like to involve and plan events for their business. So I think ESFJs, you will be surprised and delighted in the RebelCon experience. So check that one out. Okay, now I'm going to speak to my INTJs. Now, this is where we get a little different, right? Because we're going to go to a completely different tribe of personalities, up to my analyst tribe, who are intuitive thinkers. And so INTJs, some of the most analytic people on the planet, super logic driven, and really, really good at creating smart, data driven, but also intuitive driven sales funnels and marketing strategies. So INTJs, I recommend checking out the Digital Summit series. Now, Digital Summit happens all across the US. So there are several conferences, several digital summits that happen throughout the year and in different locations. So if you are in the States, you're probably going to find one somewhat close to you in your closest, largest city. And so this is a massive conference series, and it's a massive conference in and of itself when you go. And how they explain it on the website is Digital Summit fills your brain and professional toolkit with thought leadership and practical solutions designed to supercharge your customer strategies. I mean, they have an incredible lineup of speakers every single time they do a summit. You can gather so much information, and it's still going to be grounded in that practical, strategy driven way that you love to approach things. They're also going to be on the more digital marketing end, which is something that you excel at anyway. So I know that if you're an INTJ, you could go to a digital summit near you and gain a ton of knowledge and really enjoy your experience. So check that out. Next up, INTPs. I recommend checking out DigimarCon. That's DigimarCon. DigimarCon is the largest digital marketing conference series in the world. I don't want to say that it's similar to Digital Summit because I can guarantee you the creators of Digital Summit and DigimarCon would not like that comparison, but they do kind of feel similar in that they're going to really be focusing on digital marketing. And when it comes to DigimarCon, as you see on their website, they say, whether your goal is to reinforce customer loyalty, improve lead generation, increase sales, or drive stronger consumer engagement, this conference helps attendees enhance their marketing efforts. Their sessions are focused on building traffic, expanding brand awareness, improving customer service, and gaining insight into today's latest digital tools. And all of that tells me that it's right up an INTP's alley. Again, this is a conference series, so there are several that happen across the calendar year and across the globe. So check that one out, INTPs. Now to my ENTJs. ENTJs, I think you're really going to dig the Rise Business Conference. This is Rachel Hollis's business conference. She's piloting the first run of this year, and she hasn't technically announced a second year in 2020, but if it happens, it's to be determined, right? So this is kind of like, don't quote me here, but to be determined if she does another round. And if it's anything like what I've seen is happening in 2019, I think you're going to really want to get on the list for 2020. This year, it's happening in November. So this month, actually, I think it might be happening. It's happening very, very soon as it relates to when this episode goes live. And the main tagline for this event is chase down your dream business. That is an ENTJ. Like that is an ENTJ to their core. And I don't know Rachel Hollis's personality type, but I kind of think it's kind of close to ENTJ if I might go that far. So I think you're going to dig this. This year it's happening November 2019 in Charleston, South Carolina. And so, the least that you could do is kind of get this on your radar. And when she, I don't know, commits to a 2020 conference, this might be one that you want to have at the top of your list. Okay, next up, ENTPs. ENTPs, I think you want to take a look at traffic and conversion. This is as they say on their website, premier gathering of digital marketers on planet Earth. It's a huge conference, okay? It's happening in San Diego, March 31st to April 2nd, 2020. I think it's going to give you so much. And because you are such an eclectic group of people in this type as an ENTP, there's no doubt you're going to walk away with things that you can put into play right away and really be expanded and challenged in what you learn. So yeah, check out traffic and conversion. All right, we're down to our last 4 personality types and recommended business conferences. So next up, we have ISTP. ISTPs, check out Connex. Connex is happening August 2020, possibly in Toronto. They haven't told us where it's happening in 2020, but since the last one, 2019, was held in Toronto, there's a chance that 2020 could be held in Toronto as well. And what Connex does is, what I can tell is it brings together content marketing and the experience of content to the digital marketing conversation. And they do this over 2 days. And the way that they set this conference up, from my perspective, it looks like it's all about actionable learning and conversation, and they actually get you into tactical workshops. So as an ISTP, I know that you like to get your hands actually on the thing that you're learning about. And so I think Connex is going to deliver that experience for you. So check that one out. Next up, ISFPs. ISFPs definitely recommend checking out Being Boss Conference. This is a conference for business owners, creatives, and entrepreneurs. It's hosted by the Being Boss founders, and it's going to be happening April 2020 in New Orleans, Louisiana. It always looks like a fun party, and being that you are true adventurers, I think you're going to dig that one. Next up, ESTP. ESTPs, I recommend checking out Startup Grind Global. It's for game changers, curious investors, world-class speakers, and the leading brands for startups. It's happening in Silicon Valley. The only thing I can say about this one is it's going to be in your face. It's going to be high profile. I mean, it's in Silicon Valley. It's all about investing, world-class stuff, major game changers at the table, and it's happening in February 2020. So ESTPs, check that one out. And finally, ESFPs, you're my last one. Thanks for being so patient here. So ESFPs, I recommend checking out Social Media Marketing World. It's happening in March 2020 in San Diego. It's a pretty massive conference, and I don't think you will get bored at this one because ESFPs, you're always on the go. You're always doing something, right? And so I think you're going to find a lot of engagement, a lot of fun stuff to do at Social Media Marketing World. And while you're having fun and playing and adventuring, you're also going to learn a ton about social media. And I think for your type, creating a really great social media presence could be a true superpower of yours. And I think Social Media Marketing World is going to support that natural superpower that you have. So check that one out. Okay, so that's it. There you have it. Those are the number one recommendations I have for 2020 business conferences to attend based on personality type. Now that we've gone through all that, I bet you're wanting to see the entire list of conference recommendations for your type, right? I mean, I only gave you one. And once you dig into the entire 2020 business conference guide, you'll get several based on your personality type. So of course you're wondering, okay, but what other conferences are best for me? So like I said at the beginning of the episode, you can go find out what other conferences I recommend checking out based on personality type at marketingpersonalities.com/2020 conferences. You'll find the whole list right there. And to wrap this up, if you've loved this episode and the 2020 Business Conference Guide, I have two things for you, okay? Number one, would you be super awesome and share this with your business friends? I would love to see this guide get out to a bunch of new listeners and a bunch of new followers because ultimately, yes, it's going to connect entrepreneurs with conferences that they're going to love in 2020. Like, of course, it's also going to be a great tool to introduce entrepreneurs and small business owners to marketing that feels good, right? Marketing that doesn't feel fake and salesy, but actually feels good to implement. And therefore, marketing that works. And that's, if you've been around here for any amount of time, that is the mission we are on here. So please, share this out. Thank you so much. And number two, I said I had two things for you. If you loved this episode, number two, in just a couple weeks on November 28th, a similar episode is going to be released with our 2019 gift guide for entrepreneurs based on personality type. Yes, I have curated a huge list of amazing gifts to give your business friends, your business partners, and yourself. And I've categorized all these lists by personality type, meaning the personality types I think are going to enjoy these gifts the most. So that episode and the 2019 gift guide for entrepreneurs is coming out on November 28th. That is Thanksgiving Day for those of you in the States. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Now it's time to connect your marketing strategy to your personality type. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to download your marketing personality type full report. Use the code MPP at checkout to get $10 off. And that's a super special code for podcast listeners as a way to say thank you for being here. In your full report, you'll learn about your personality type, how it relates to the work you do, what your best marketing strategy includes so you can start implementing it right away, what your worst marketing strategy includes so you can avoid it, and so much more. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to get your full report and use the code MPP at checkout to receive $10 off your purchase. And one more thing before you skip on to the next podcast. Would you please share this episode with your entrepreneur friends who also need to feel good about their marketing strategies? Take a quick screenshot of your podcast app right now and share it out via text, Facebook, or my favorite, Instagram. Remember to tag me at Marketing Personalities in the photo so I can be sure to send you a huge high five and thank you for sharing the love. This podcast is edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, and you can find them at podcastengineers.com. That's all for now. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Love ya. Bye.